Who was responsible for the death of 3 people, including some of these people died inside SeaWorld? In today's video, we are going to have a serious conversation about that famous park with aquatic animals. Marine animals like whales, please roll the vignette for me, production, the station. I'm the one who edits the videos. Stop being crazy. Hi everyone, how are you? Stop everything to watch today's video. In today's video, we are going to talk about a park in Orlando, which is not only in Orlando, okay girls, and also boys, how are you? It's also in San Diego, California. The work of SeaWorld makes me feel very sad, thoughtful, and emotional to the point of tears. So before we start the video, we're going to make some clarifications, okay? And I would like to illustrate for you in these clarifications the reason why I became against the work of this park. When I went to visit for the first time in Orlando, I was really dazzled, guys. Because we grew up in Brazil, we were born in Brazil, we have these things in Brazil. Then you arrive in a place like this that has these things. What do you become? You become dazzled. And I think it's not just me who gets dazzled when I go to Orlando. If you probably were also dazzled with the things you saw there. Like at the time I went, the dollar was super low. I bought a bunch of dollars and I wanted to do all the experiences that my money could provide me there in that place. I frequently saw SeaWorld on television programs like Iliana and Seus Portioli. Eventually, I visited SeaWorld in person. I went to SeaWorld in the park. I went to their water park and also went to that other water park, which is a more very important person experience, the Discovery Cove, where you can swim with dolphins. I went, guys, I admit to you here that I went. And I regret it so much. I really regret having gone to that place, having financed it, and having, in a way, helped to promote this kind of place for some time. I ended up helping to promote this kind of work of theirs because I spoke well of it for a while. And I regret not only for having frequented the place the first few times I went to Disney, I also regret having promoted this kind of business to you. Understand? So it's a double regret. So if you see around the internet someone calling me a hypocrite and posting this picture that you are seeing here, yes guys, that's me. I did that, I went there, I swam with the dolphins, I paid to do that, and I think even more important than the regret is an apology from my part. And a general apology, okay guys? An apology to you who are my followers, to the animals, if there is any way I can do that. I think the most important thing than apologizing is the fact that we realize that we are wrong and try in some way to reverse this mistake and turn it into something good. And the way I found to redeem myself with you with these animals is through this video that I am making now. Bring you information that often doesn't reach Brazil. And before I start saying bad things, I would like to make it very clear that I like the organization of SeaWorld. I like their roller coasters. I think the park is beautiful, flowery, well cared for, clean, just like all the other parks in Orlando on the front stage, okay? In the part that the visitor is seeing, I think it's a job well done. For the visitor, okay? But there are things that I'm not a fan of, and I ended up seeing this in the worst possible way. For those who are new followers or unaware, I lived in Florida for 3 years. And then, because I was there in the United States, in Florida, I ended up starting to frequent these places, obviously more often, than those who only travel once a year for entertainment and leisure. I used to go because it was also a job for me. Collect information, turn it into video, into content, and take it to those who wanted to travel. After moving to the United States, I had something in my life that I never had before: contact with animals. I lived in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, where the only animal you have contact with is your dog inside the house, a bird that sings at the window, and some pigeons downtown. And when I moved to the United States, even because I lived in rural Florida, I had a lot of contact with wild animals. So geese, alligators, bears, deer, anyway, any kind of wild animal that is native to that swamp region. I ended up having a lot of contact with these animals. They came to the river near my house. I went to the river to see them, you know? All like that in their environment. Through my contact with the animals, I developed thoughts that I didn't have while living in São Paulo due to my lack of experience with them. It was then that one day, watching one of those whale shows that SeaWorld promotes, I had a snap, like it came to me in the head, and then I started crying inside the park. So everyone was happy, and the time I was wearing sunglasses, and underneath, it seemed like I had just left a funeral. And then when I got home, I went to find out about this, because I don't like to take a stance or say whether I like or dislike something without having information. As a skeptical person, I rely more on scientific information and reason than my own emotions. I even thought I was experiencing premenstrual syndrome that day, you know? When you start crying because you're PMSing. Well, unfortunately that wasn't the case, and I ended up, unfortunately or fortunately, falling into that Blackfish documentary. Although this documentary is very well known around the world, you there in Brazil perhaps did not have contact with this documentary because it is a documentary made in English. So sometimes the translation, sometimes the subtitles, sometimes even the type of film is not interesting for us who are Brazilian and are more used to commercial films, even those that we like to watch in the cinema, you know? And that's why I decided to make this video, because I am a source of information between things that are in English and you guys who are there in Brazil, you know? I always have been. For those who don't know, the Blackfish documentary, it's about the life of a whale named Chilicum, who was responsible for the death of 3 people, including some of these people died inside SeaWorld. And the documentary also deals with the consequences of keeping an animal of this size, of this type, in captivity. So the documentary shows the entire journey that Chilicum made from the moment of her capture in 1983 in the waters of Iceland to her final moment, or almost final, because this documentary was finished before her death. I'll get there. Calm down. It also shows horrifying scenes of her trapped in a dark tank for hours. And this documentary also deals a bit with SeaWorld's allegations of keeping cetaceans, which, yes, whales are not mammals, they are cetaceans. So this type of whale, the orca whale, it is as if it were from the same race or clan as dolphins, okay? She is not a whale, but an orca dolphin, the type seen at SeaWorld. The documentary, in general, deals with the whole story of Chilicum, along with the story that SeaWorld tells to kind of deceive the tourists. It's also worth remembering that this documentary was recorded with the testimony of former park employees, which makes the whole thing even darker and much more tense. The scenes from this documentary are horrible, folks, so if you have the stomach to watch it, I recommend it. The name of the documentary is Blackfish. I'll leave a link here in the description for you to watch for free. It's on Netflix and some other digital media providers as well, okay? But know that the documentary is in English and will probably be subtitled in Portuguese, and that the scenes are really hard to watch. So if you have the stomach for it, you watch it. After this day at the park, after my crying fit and watching this documentary, I started to be completely against the work they claim to do inside SeaWorld. And I changed the type of language. Now I tell people not to attend. And I also recommend that people do not fund animal abuse. So I'm here in today's video, folks, not to prohibit you from going and saying that you don't have to go. It's your life and your money, so do what you want. In fact, I think you should go so that you can have the experience that I had, so that you can have your own perception, so that you can get there, see with your own eyes and form your own opinion on the matter. Don't just stick with my opinion, okay? If this is your dream, just like it was mine one day, go and do the things you have to do. But also take a moment to think, okay? Don't just blindly assume everything is beautiful. Also think and reflect on the subject. So in this video here, I'm going to talk about the reasons why I think you shouldn't go there. And again, don't just rely on the information I provide. These pieces of information I'm getting from very reputable sites like the New York Times, Daily Mail, and so it's not me who's saying this. Biologists and reputable sites confirm it. Gather information before criticizing me. Firstly, orcas suffer greatly in the tanks where they are held captive. Well, orcas in the sea, they swim about 100 miles a day. And the fact that you put an animal of this size inside a bathtub makes them unable to have their natural instinct. And then they end up getting very upset and they end up doing horrible things like, for example, biting the bars, right? The very bars there of the place where they are confined, which ends up breaking and deteriorating all their teeth. So if you go to SeaWorld, notice the quality of the teeth of SeaWorld's orcas. In the image below, you can also see, circled in yellow, the size of the park's parking lot, and circled in blue, the size of the Orca's Captivity. Just for you to get an idea. Another thing is that SeaWorld ends up asking its employees to lie to visitors. And many times the employees don't even know that this is a lie. Many times they really believe that it is true because they didn't have the spark to do some research. They work there, they need the money, and they end up telling some lies to the guests who frequent there. One of them, for example, is the lifespan of the whales. SeaWorld employees, anyone, you can ask anyone. If you ask them, what is the lifespan of a whale in captivity? And what is the lifespan of a whale outside of captivity? They will probably tell you that in captivity, whales live much longer, when this is a lie. Another absurd thing is that they use black zinc oxide on the orcas to hide their injuries. As I've mentioned at some points earlier in this video, the orcas kept in captivity end up becoming very aggressive, because I saw this in the documentary, okay folks? When one orca fights with another orca, what does it do? It swims away. And in the case of captivity, they have nowhere to swim away to, so they end up getting very stressed and end up biting each other. And what the trainers even say is that this is a sign of affection they show each other, that the male ends up doing to the female, or the female ends up doing to the male, when in fact they really fight among themselves in captivity. And then, so people don't notice these injuries, they apply what looks like sunscreen, like a sunblock, on these animals, this black zinc oxide, to cover these scars that the animals have. And this, who said it, was a trainer inside SeaWorld, okay? I'm going to leave all this that I'm telling you here in the description so you can see that I'm not making it up. Probably, if you've been to SeaWorld or if you've seen on television any of these whales in captivity, you must have noticed that their dorsal fin is always fallen to one side or the other. And although SeaWorld trainers and SeaWorld media claim that this is natural for orcas, biologists in nature prove us completely otherwise. It's not normal for an orca to have this fin, this flipper fallen to the side. This usually shows stress, usually shows anxiety, and often even depression. In other words, an animal that has this dorsal fin fallen to the side is stressed, is anxious, is depressed. And this is not natural. So just by the physical appearance of the animals that are in captivity, you can already perceive the level of stress and suffering that these animals are going through. Another thing that happened while I was living in Florida was the death of the whale Tilikum, and she died because of an infection which has not been clarified to this day. This story, they say it was because of an infection, because she was in captivity, they say it was. Anyway, there are several theories for the death of Tilikum, including at the time this happened. I went sightseeing in Orlando over the weekend and there were protests at the door of SeaWorld, but unfortunately the people who protest against this are very few and it ends up not making much difference, in the situation itself. So she died, the whale died. I was honestly very happy that she died because at least now she's free. The day she died, came after everything I saw, after all the stories I read, after Blackfish itself, if you watch it, you will agree with me that the best thing that happened in this whale's life was death. Because now she's free. Well, Carol, but you only talked about whales and the other animals at SeaWorld. Once, during a show that was happening, a dolphin show, a dolphin ended up being forgotten on the side of the water, and he was agonizing, he was going to die. And then the audience of the show ended up warning the trainer that this was happening. Well, the show was immediately ended, all the people left, and no explanation was given on this subject, but the video is in full on the internet. Dolphin agonizes up until death at SeaWorld. Something like that I will leave obviously for you in the description of this video. And guys, there's a lot here that I could keep talking to try to convince you not to go, but it's what I've already told you. Have your own experience, go there, look, analyze, and take your own side. Choose a side of the coin, okay? I'm not stopping you from going or ruining your dreams. Everyone has their own aspirations, finances, and life plans. I'm just putting my point of view here, okay? Are we agreed on that? And just like I respect many videos that I see on the internet, which is very funny, right folks? I watch a lot of online videos daily. I watch Felipe Neto, I watch his brother, I watch a lot of videos on the internet. Sometimes I watch videos I didn't even want to watch because they just show up sponsored by Facebook or something like that. And just as I respect other people and content creators, I expect people to respect me too, because at no point in my journey on this internet have I criticized someone's content, have I gone there to argue with the person, and much less made a video response to the person, because I think that's a very big lack of elegance, because as I told you, I watch various videos on the internet every day, and there are videos that I like, and there are videos that I don't like. Normally when I like the video, I go there and say something nice to the person like, oh, I loved it, congratulations, great editing, or comment something. Now when I don't like it, I'm not that kind of person who will be criticizing, because many times it's that person's job and many times she depends on that to put food at home. So if I have nothing good to say about people's videos or about other people's work, guys, I don't say it, and this is a matter of respect for others, which is unfortunately lacking a lot in our Brazilian society. We don't respect others, but we demand respect. You know that thing? We don't respect other people's work. We always want to confront people because many times we think we are more important or more owners of the truth than other people. I'm not the owner of the truth, and usually the information I bring to you, I'm just, oh, you're lying, guys, they're not lies. And usually, in almost 100% of the cases, I leave links for you in the description of renowned sites, of reputable places, of very famous newspapers in the world saying what I'm saying. So I'm bringing the information to you. Sorry for the noise of the renovation. That's what we have here for the moment. Girls and also boys, everything's good. Sometimes I'm bringing you information that, even because it's in English or because it's from a medium that you won't have access to in Brazil, you end up not seeing. So what I like to bring to you is information. So be it information of a tourist destination for you to travel, be it information of a cool park that I visited, be it information on how to do something like getting a visa, how to make a frame of a Disney movie. I enjoy bringing you information. Now, all the information that I bring here to you, either I experienced in person, or I was there and saw it happen, or I read it somewhere very reputable. I didn't read it on fulaninhas.com blog, and I'm bringing the information to you. Understand? I read in renowned, reputable places. So if you are refuting my information, you are refuting the Daily Mail, you are refuting the New York Times, you are refuting biologists who studied about some specific information, about some marine animal, about a cetacean anyway. So I believe a lot in respect between people, and I think the internet would be so cool if we respected, right? If there was no video response to the response to the response to the response. So, like, people who want to cause trouble with me, don't try, because I won't respond to your video. First, it's never a Felipe Neto causing trouble with me, right? Who has millions of followers for me to gain followers. No, it's always a pretty crappy YouTuber, even with like 1,000 followers trying to cause trouble with me. What's the point of these people? Their intention is for me to make a response video and end up directing all of you who watch me, who are a super cool crowd, to the channel, to the Instagram, to the profile of this person. So I'm not going to respond to these people. I responded the other day to a boy there, I won't even say his name, the boy from Brazil, on my Instagram, but it's because that had been stored for a long time and I needed to speak, but like that's a personal problem I have with him now, with his work, with what he does on the internet, with his videos. I have nothing to say about him because I don't even have that right to speak. You know, so before you criticize anyone on the internet, before you point the finger, before you come here and say, oh, it's a lie, I don't know what, read about the subject, I know it's hard, people, we read. Brazilians are not used to reading, but I like to read, and the information I bring to you is from reliable sources, okay? So what is my intention with today's video? I want you to see things not just as they appear, but as they truly are, you know? Research, get informed, read, delve into the subject. Don't say you're an expert in something if you don't know what goes beyond your eyes. Have critical thinking, be curious, research, and think twice before pointing a finger at someone and saying that the person is angry, that the person is bitter, or that the person is like this because they worked there and didn't like it and was fired. It's not like that, folks. There's a lot more beyond our eyes, beyond what we see, okay? That's it for today's lengthy 90-minute video. I hope you enjoyed it. Lastly, I ask that you don't keep the information I shared with you to yourself. Take yourself, show it to 2 friends, ask those 2 friends to show this video to 2 more friends, who will show it to 2 more friends. Before you know it, a lot of people will know about this information, which I think the more people know, the more people will be outraged, the more positive things we will be able to achieve. A kiss for you guys then, and I'll see you in our next video. Subtitle Adriana Zanotto, subtitle Adriana Zanotto.